Welcome to the FPL USA Press Play Podcast. I'm Bucks. I'm joined by my pod partner, the one with the main character energy this season, aka Brian Chin. How the hell are you, brother?
Bucks, you're spitting into the microphone. I can tell you're filled with excitement. I cannot wait for this pod. We have a special guest from the hashtag FPL USA community. And, I do have that main character energy, and so does our guest, while you're probably more of a NPC this season. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'm running into the same brick wall over and over again. It's saying, does not compute, user error. But enough about me. Let's glow up what this podcast is all about. It's time to dive into the FPL action. We're coming into the back half of double game week 32, but it's really time to start looking ahead and planning for Chippy Chip season. And to do that, we brought in another special guest because this is a special double game week preview as we look ahead to 33. We got European football competitions left, right, and center, and the second match to conclude double game week 32 still yet to play, which we'll see Crystal Palace at Newcastle. But we don't need to play games around Scott, who's our special guest. You might know him better as his handle at FPL Theorist. Theorist, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. This is exciting to be able to be on with all these great friends from FPL USA. This is what we all wanted when we started FPL USA, isn't it?
That's right. More voices,
Amen.
More fun, more banter, and especially with two double game weeks back to back. So we're really excited to get a few of your hot takes during this show. And I think we should start there and just let us know how your season's going. And I think, you've got a pretty cool following on X/Twitter. So just tell us about your journey as a voice in the community.
Yeah, it's been a good season. So I'm still holding out a slight hope of maybe breaking into that top 10K.
Oh, baby.
I'm down
Love
about
Amazing.
6K this week to about 37K. And I just got the bench boost and the free hit left. But going back to me, I've been doing community articles for Fantasy Football Scout for a while. I've been playing FPL for 6 years now and was involved in starting the FPL USA community along with Black Wolf, Wrangler, Conte, and Patrick. So going back to the days when we were doing the spaces on Twitter, fondly remember those old days. But it's great to now have like all the leagues and everything. It's been amazing work, especially that Black Wolf has done, and now you guys have started this podcast. Well, you've had the podcast for a while, but transitioning it into being the official FPL USA podcast, it's wonderful to see.
Yeah, I love that. And especially, we have over 300 managers who are all in the hashtag FPL USA leagues that Dan runs. But great to see, of course, your journey in helping create FPL USA with some of those other voices. And a lot of those guys we love in the group chat. So we're glad to have you on. And you're looking poised for a strong finish, especially if you can nail a few differentials on your bench boost and free hits. And I think you have a little alternative strategy from what I can remember. So we're looking forward to discussing that this episode as well.
Great.
Yeah, and I think worth noting, we have two managers well inside the top 50K with sights on, top 10K, if not more ambitious finishes to the FPL season. So as we get into nut crunching time, Theorist, I just want to ask you, is there a team that jumps out that you support in the Premier League? And then what is your best overall finish? Is this season potentially going to get you to those kind of lofty ranks?
So I'm a Man City fan. I love my favorite player is Rodri. So give him another Ballon d'Or, really. We've shown how much our team misses him this season. Just goes to show how much he deserved that, I think.
I agree. Let me put it on record that I was a strong Rodri as the deserving candidate. Maybe Phil Foden as the young player of the season. less deserving, but we'll save that banter for the
No, I can
cutting
agree
room
with that.
floor.
And tell us a little bit about how you became a City fan, because there's not as many of those, especially in some of the group chats we're in and things of that nature for the U.S. folks. So tell us when and why you became a citizen.
Yeah, I mean, I just love Pep, and I think a lot of people like to hate Pep, especially in the FPL community, but just such a great manager, and put together such a great team with guys like KDB, and then Rodri's come along. We got Holland. But yeah, also have to be careful about all the pep roulette and choosing your assets very carefully, and
Oh my
sometimes
goodness.
swerving them if you can't find the ones with the good minutes. So
I fell in
yeah,
that
and it's
sticky
also a help
trap that
that
is Foden.
yeah, it's also a help that they wear the right shade of blue, unlike some that wear Duke blue.
I tried
We
to
got Tar Heel
understand the assignment on this episode. You see, I'm not wearing my normal shade of royal Chelsea blue, the rich dark blue that they share with the Duke Blue Devils. We know that's cancelable in your part of the country. You're in UNC County. And I should give you credit. That sky light blue is actually my favorite color. So I have an uncomfortably large amount of sneakers with that color scheme front and center. So, you keep everything in the same color pattern, makes it easy for picking out your wardrobe every day. Whether you're going to support UNC, maybe it's Man City, or whether you're just going for a coffee. You kind of just roll out of bed. You're wearing the right colors each and every day.
So let's pivot here and just update the listeners on how we are progressing in the midst of the double game week 32. It's been a damp squib for me. I'm not going to lie. I've been very underwhelmed by a lot of the assets this game week. So let's start with you, Theorist. How are you doing so far in double game week 32 before our final match on Wednesday?
Yeah, so I'm at 44 points, so down about 6K at 37K currently. So I didn't play a chip this week, so I'm actually not too unhappy with a small red arrow and just trying to pretty much maintain where I am, since I'm only planning to play one chip in this stretch of 32, 33, 34, which will be the bench boost in 33. Then I'm trying to get through 34 without using my one remaining chip after that, which is the free hit, and save it for 36, which is going to be our other double game week that I think might be a little tougher for people with no chips left to negotiate.
Interesting. That's definitely, swimming against the tides. I feel like the kind of prevalent strategy right now in the ethos, at least on social media in the community, is to, be using that bench boost chip in the upcoming 33. Is there any reason that,
I am using the bench boost in 33, but I'm
excuse me. So
planning
you're going to
to
bench boost 33
not
and
use
then
a chip in
skip
34
the free hit.
and then use the free hit in 36 to hopefully get 11 double game week players out in 36. I think that could be a real differential.
Got it. And how many doublers will you have for 33? So, how many players are you hoping to roll out in the blank
currently
34?
I only have 7 doublers in 33 because I can't attack it full bore.
Sure.
Because I need to have enough players for 34. I've got 2 free transfers right now, and it's going to be a tough week to decide what exactly to do. If I were to just roll the 2 free transfers, then I'd have 3 and be able to get 11 out in 34 without hits. But that would mean passing on a lot of good assets that, it would be great to have. So, for example, I could do Murphy to Rogers, which, I mean, everybody's going to want Rogers. But then, transferring a single game weeker who has a fixture in 34 to a doubler, then I'd only be able to get 9 out without hits in 34. Because then I've moved out somebody that has a fixture in 34 and then only have 2 free transfers left there. So I mean,
It's a
that's
balancing
almost
act.
like you feel like you sacrifice 8 points. You feel like Rodgers has to outscore Murphy by 8 points to make that work.
And
Are
then
you considering a hit? Are you open to, one hit between now and when you when you free hit in 36?
Yeah, I'm open to it. I haven't fully made my decisions, but I feel like also, I guess I was kind of looking at what the free hit team will be like for 34. I mean, there are a lot of good assets out there, but then at the same time, like some of them are not assets you necessarily want down the road. So, for example, if I were on a free hit in 34, I might go for the Cunha and Larson double up.
oh wow,
But
the double
with
up.
not being in that situation, then Wolves have Man City right after that. So I wouldn't want to have both
Yeah,
of
you're definitely
those.
not going against your
So I
team.
may go for somebody like Wood instead, even though he doesn't have as good a fixture in 34. He's somebody I'd like to have for the rest of the season.
So out of curiosity, what kind of linked you up with the non-free hit 34 and using it in 36 instead? Because
Well, I
obviously,
just
like,
thought I needed to do something different. If I just played the template wild card around 30-31, absolutely template that from where I was at about 50K at that time, I didn't feel like I was going to be able to get to
that's
the
fair.
top 10K, which I really want to try for and shoot for. And, maybe it's not a great chance of getting there, but at least I think if I had gone full template, then I would have had virtually no chance. So I just thought it would be more fun to try something a little bit different. And I felt like I was a bit pessimistic after Holland went down about City's chances going forward. And so I thought maybe I felt like what I was hearing, especially from like Ben Krellin, he had the fixtures up there for 36 with the bookies odds, which were favoring City about 70% to 30% to win that semifinal against Forest. And I just don't really see that with with the team that City have without Holland. That does not seem right. And I feel like if Forest do win that, then a lot of people will be caught out unprepared. And that might be a situation where being able to use that free hit to like get in 3 Forest players for a double that might be like Leicester and West Ham. I mean, that's a great
Yum,
double
yum.
to have 3 players from Forest for that, and to be able to just put in the right Villa players and the right Palace players, if that's who it turns out to be. Maybe some of the other teams that might double around then because they're playing the FA Cup semifinalists, just to be able to go after whoever you want on that free hit just seemed really appealing, and then not worry so much about the blank in 37, which I think will be difficult for a lot of people as well. So I'm just hoping to make big progress up the ranks in 36 and 37 especially.
So are you in a position where you're not going to be rooting for City to advance in that? Because like a lot of people are going to be tripled up on the citizens for double game week 33, and then hopefully carry
Yeah,
those
it's tough. I
assets
mean,
to
I got to root for
game
my
week
team,
36.
even though it's not, I mean, it doesn't advance my FPL interests necessarily. But yeah, I mean, my wild card so far, I did sort of figure that maybe if City struggled in some of these games and I bet more heavily on Liverpool for the 32 through 34 stretch, which I've got 3 Liverpool players, that might be a differential versus, so the only City player I've currently got is Gvardiol.
Wow, no Marmouche.
Oh,
even.
interesting.
Yeah, I actually went for Cunha over Marmouche, so I thought that might be a differential. He had a really good run, and unfortunately, I've left him on my bench in 32 because Pereira said
Of
that he
course.
wasn't going to start, which was correct.
Yep,
And then he
he
came
still
on
came
and
on.
got a goal. So I can't say that's a good decision, bad outcome. I don't think that was a bad decision to put him on the bench. You got to play the guys that you think are going to start.
Yep. Well, looks like you got a
So
lot cooking for upcoming game weeks. But before we look ahead to some of the future matches, let's kick it to Bucks. How are you doing in double game week 32?
It's a lukewarm, kind of soggy blanket right now. I'm on 43 points all out. I did go for a more template team, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I told myself, when I wildcarded early in game week 30, I was like, just go for the doublers. You'll take hits down the road. But I just realized my team looks way too much like the kind of consensus. And I'm at a rank where I'm not happy with how my season's going. I'm now down to 715,000 in the world. So I'm inside the top million. I feel like that's a more accurate threshold, but I'm not going to get anywhere close to my record of 5 top 100K finishes in a row. So that's probably out the door at this point. But again, the reason I'm playing is just to have fun. And I just feel like my wild card wasn't necessarily Bucks wild or fun enough from the way that I normally like to play the FPL game. So 33 is going to be an important week for me. I'm going to probably lean a little bit more into that chaos that I used to be so known for. And so we'll see if it all works out. I know, there's a lot of big questions with this double game week with 4 teams doubling. It should be a little spicier than just having Newcastle and Crystal Palace double like they did in 32. And so I'm hopeful that if I can get a triple-digit score, maybe spike a differential or two, maybe even captain a differential, I'm hopeful that could claw back at least a couple 10,000 or so places for my pride purposes. But it's a little bit of a lost season for me. I'm kind of
it'll
in
be
like
interesting because I don't feel like we necessarily have an obvious standout captain this week.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think there will be some split, especially people not being that confident on Saka's minutes, and so people might feel like it's safer to go for somebody like Marmoush, who's maybe doesn't have the Ipswich fixture, but he does at least have a little bit more security of close to 180 minutes.
Totally right. So I just want to touch on a couple of the highlight or the standout moments so far from double game week 32. First and foremost, I want to just put the mic in front of you, Brian, because, you're triple captain Isak. And I know that when the game week started, you were saying 10 points. You'd be thrilled if he got 10 points. So 30 points all out. Newcastle, they absolutely smoked Manchester United. They even used some of that tangy mustard-based, vinegar and mustard-based barbecue sauce that we see out of Scott's part of the United States of America. 4-1, but Isak pretty quiet. He had just the assist. He definitely looked like he should have gotten the goal, and I know my wallet was invested in him getting that goal, which didn't come.
Oh, man.
But Barnes was the hero, 15-pointer, no clean sheet points. So far, kind of you're on track. You feeling good about his minutes? He's going to get another start. You think he's going to eclipse that 10 points, Brian? What do you feel?
Yeah, so I'm on 49 points this week with my triple captain active, and I am on a 20-spot red arrow right now. So not
you're getting greedy with your rank.
Yeah, not something you want to see, though, when you're activating a chip. So I know a lot of people are on bench boost this week as well, so maybe I'll make up a lot of ground on bench boost next week in terms of the rest of the folks that are live. But with that being said, I don't want to be too greedy on triple cap, but after Isak got the first assist in the first 25 minutes, you're just like, oh, all he needs is one more assist or a goal, and he's going to be on double digits. And then you have the Crystal Palace game. Palace just conceded 5 fucking goals to, an out of form Manchester City attack, and so you're just kind of really just hoping for the best. But the big chance got blocked that Isak had, and they had a few other moments throughout the game where I was hoping that the pass was going to be slotted to the feet of Isak, but instead Bruno G doesn't play him in, and he scores his goal, and then Barnes is on a little bit of a breakaway. I wasn't expecting Barnes to ever pass because that's not what he does, but Bruno G, I was like a little bit hopeful. I'm like, slot him the fucking ball. That's going to be a 12-pointer. Let's go. And he just did not do that. So, 7 goals in the last 2 matches for Newcastle, and Isak has none of them. And so that's what hurts right in the baby makers, because I captained Isak last week, which was going to be, differential versus Salah, and then also 0 goals in the first game of the double game week this time around. So it's tough. you love that they're in form and scoring a ton of goals, right? So you would think that he'll have a few good chances. I expect him to get a goal versus Palace, but the hopes of getting that big 15-plus pointer, it's fading away a bit. So we'll see. You're always comparing it to the other triple captain moments earlier in the season. So obviously you did really well, Bucks, albeit your rank is not good, but you got 17 points from your triple cap of Holland in game week 2. Some
Me
people
too.
Arguably my one good decision
nice.
this season.
So, I'm just trying to get something, a dozen points would be great. 13 points would be great. So I'm really hoping for a single goal in the next game, and that would be at least not a failed triple cap. But I also had I had back-to-back seasons in the past where I had triple capped Sane and Mane, and they both had 6 and 3 points respectively. So it's still looking at least hopefully 7 to 12 points pretty easily here. So it is what it is. But I'm dreaming of finishing the top 1K. So being on a red arrow with your triple captain active so far is not a fun feeling.
Yeah, not how you drew it up in the planning room. Now, the other game I do want to shout out is that Palace match, because they came out firing up 2-0 on Manchester City away, and all of a sudden, Scott, your boys really turned it on. 5 straight goals. They turned the game totally around, and with Phil Foden being out and Marmoush, he's kind of solidified himself as the guy in the attack for City so far. But I was really impressed. I mean, KDB really pulled it back. He hit the magical rewind, the crystal ball, and pulled his vintage self out. Goal, assist, 12 points. He was kind of the difference maker, the X factor for Pep and for your City team on the day. So, is he at all in your thoughts? Is you get a tickle with KDB? You think?
I personally don't think I have a route to him, but I wouldn't necessarily discourage others. I mean, he's a big differential at this point, and so if you're looking to get a different premium and try and hit one big, then yeah, that could be the way to go. But then at City have been so inconsistent this year. So we had a 4-0 win over Newcastle back a couple months ago, and so a lot of people thought, oh, this is turning the corner, and then it just didn't keep up. And there have been some games where we've really struggled to score goals. So
surprisingly, as a neutral fan, you're like, wow, this 0-0 Manchester derby is just not living up to any expectations. So
that was a rough watch.
Yeah, it's been tricky. I have Foden, and I'm absolutely I'm in the gutter with this guy. I've partied all night with him. I bought his drinks, and now I wake up this morning and I still have all my clothes on. That's how I'm feeling right now, Bucks.
Wow, that's I feel violated just hearing that story. Now, I do want to just ask
all
you,
my
Scott,
clothes on. He's supposed to wine and dine me.
We knew what you meant. We knew what you meant. Black Wolf isn't here to be filming that, so that's the only lost part of the tapes here from the FPL USA files. Now, Scott, I do want to just ask you, again, your team is going to be one of those teams that double, and we're going to jump to talk about double game week 33. Is KDB a player that you think is inside the optimal City triple up? I mean, if you are a manager who maybe, like you, is going with an alternative strategy of free hitting in this double game week, would KDB be in place if you had that free hit?
Yeah, I mean, with the free hit, Guardiola and Marmoush are probably the obvious ones, and then yeah, I mean, KDB seems like a very high upside pick, and
you said
if
he's
it
playing.
Doesn't work out,
he's playing pain free for a first time in ages
on a free hit. So you don't have to worry about it.
What about Ortega? You like KDB or Ortega more if you double up defense or attack?
Yeah, I hadn't even heard the news. Is Ederson out for a while? Do we know that? I hadn't even seen.
It's not confirmed as of yet, but seems like probably he's not going to be risked if I had to guess with the trophy still on the line. I feel like this double game week is navigate a bowl for Pep without him. So I think at least in the short term, probably we're looking at Ortega.
Yeah, I've never been much of a fan of Man City defense for FPL. It always seems to disappoint. No
Yeah.
matter how good the XGC numbers and everything are, that's one place where I tend to almost always bet against the analytics crew, and it's usually
Scott,
done pretty well for me. So
I'm potentially looking at double Manchester City defense and getting rid of Foden because my team is just in shambles elsewhere. So I was actually looking at Diaz this morning as a double defense punt to bring in for Livermento. I don't know what
it is interesting, though. I mean, from a bonus points perspective, I think I've seen people talk about if they have guys like O'Reilly, who's classified as a midfielder playing left back, then you don't have very many FPL defenders if they do keep a clean sheet to get those bonus points.
Yeah,
so I mean, if you think some games are going to be kind of low scoring, maybe Everton, maybe it's just like a 1-0 or something, then yeah, I mean, you could get DS with 3 bonus and a clean sheet. That could be quite differential. So, I mean, if that's how you see the games playing out, I think Villa, I think you're going to see probably goals on both sides, but Everton could be kind of tight.
Yeah, that's the dream of the playing twice. You just have to have one good fixture, and then you even get appearance points, and you feel like, you came away with something special in a double game week. With that, we still have one match to come. We are recording this on Monday night, April 14th. So we will still see Newcastle hosting Crystal Palace on Wednesday. Again, there will also be Champions League football, so no need to panic and make your transfers just yet. There still is a lot of information to come. But with that, I think let's take our first break. When we come back, let's dive headfirst into all the action in double game week 33. We'll go over the teams that play twice, and we'll also, open the floor to some community questions where we address kind of your burning FPL needs on how best to navigate double game week 33.
All right, we're back. Let's talk about double game week 33. We got a lot of action, boys. A lot of doublers are in people's teams. Will they deliver the goods? Bucks, who is going to be the top scorer for double game week 33? Because if you can predict the future, I will captain them.
I appreciate that. So we have 4 teams that play twice. Those same teams, most notable, will then blank in game week 34. So that's why a little earlier in the show, we were talking with Scott and with Brian about their chip strategy, because most notably, if you have too many doublers in 33, you probably have cornered yourself into a free hit 34 kind of arrangement. So Arsenal play twice, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace have the rare double-double, and that's not an in-and-out order here for those out on the best side of the coast with those fast food burgers. And then we have Manchester City, Scott, your team playing twice. Now, I guess when I look at it, there's really only 3 options I see for the top scorer and therefore captaincy material in double game week 33. I think it's Saka, Marmoush, and KDB. Now, I don't know. Do you guys agree with that assessment? Let's go to you first, theorist. What's your take? You agree with those kind of optimal double game week captain options?
Yeah, I mean, those seem like the most obvious captain options. Although, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Salah to outscore them all. He's got Leicester, and
you're
a
pro.
Get a hat trick.
I was going to go there. I think
some of these dead teams could be just blown by all of us with their solid captains, while we struggle with our guys getting limited minutes and unexpected benchings. I could see that happen. It would be classic FPL, wouldn't it?
Yeah, total. That would be FPL pain to the nth degree, because I know a lot of managers who wildcarded in 30 or 31 don't have true Liverpool coverage. I know I'm just on Salah. And like you mentioned, I'm actually tempted to just captain him. Swerve the doublers. I have a bunch of them. That's probably not
Ugh,
good for
yuck.
their output potential based on how strong my jinx has been this season.
I mean, I just
Um,
hate that though. That's like the least amount of fun. Like watching your captain play twice, if you're gonna actually like catch and follow the games, is like exponentially more fun than just watching one shitty Leicester match and hoping Salah actually rediscovers his form. Like I don't care if you get more points that way, but it's just like it's not the fun way to play a double game week.
the meta would say that, having a good rank and scoring more points actually does have a influence on making the FPL game more fun. I could say that is true. As crazy as I am about the Premier League, it'd be better to have a 71K rank than a 715K rank at this point in the season. But again, I think what comes into view here in double game week 33 is just that this is a swingy kind of game week, and we fully entered chip season. But as we're displaying with our three different strategies here, there's a lot of ways to slice it in 33.
Slice and dice.
Again, any transfers you make to bring in an extra doubler, you're going to need to then have a strategy to get either off them with a free hit, or plan accordingly with those transfers that are so precious now that we're in the final stretch run of the season. So again, I just want to open the floor here. Brian, Scott, what's your take? Let's rank these four teams. Who has the best double from your perspective?
For me, it'd be Arsenal.
Really? You think Arsenal first?
Just having that Ipswich fixture in there. I mean, the bottom teams have conceded so many goals this year. They've just, I feel like one of the keys to my season has been the captaincy and targeting some of those bottom teams whenever I can. For example, like Bruno Fernandes against Leicester in 29.
Ooh,
a lot
well
of people
done.
went
34
for
points.
Haaland against Brighton. And I said, no, I'm going to target Leicester. And I went for Bruno, and that really came off. There was one earlier in the season, I think it was Isak. He was flagged, but he was playing one of those bottom teams. And I said, I'm going to take the risk, and he outscored Salah by quite a bit. So I just see that fixture, and as long as these guys get good enough minutes, which we can't guarantee with all the Champions League, but it seems like they could really put a big score up on Ipswich, and then they have the Palace game as well. We've just seen Palace concede 5 goals, so it's not impossible that our Arsenal assets could get a good bit of points there too.
Not to mention the FA Cup semifinal, which will happen around game week 34, means that in the Crystal Palace match versus Arsenal, they could rotate a ton. They have nothing to play for in the league. They're firmly going to stay up. They're going to be 10 to 12 probably in the table. So you could see, in a dream scenario, Saka starts versus Ipswich, gets you double digits, and then you see the entire team get rotated and rested from Crystal Palace for the second match, and then all of a sudden you're flying and Saka has 15 to 17 points at least in the double. Like that's what you would hope if you're going to go for him. But I don't like any of the attackers from Arsenal. I have Saka since my game week 30 wild card. He's thankfully just had one fewer point than Palmer and one fewer point than Salah basically over the last 3 game weeks. So that's been a lucky shit show with those guys not delivering. But I don't know, like Marino, I've taken a look at him maybe to come in for Foden with a free transfer. But I really like the defense a lot more. I think Kiwi Man or probably Saliba. I still have Gabriel on my side as well. So I have to use 3 free transfers this week, I think. And I'm going to have 12 doublers.
I agree with you. I think the Arsenal fixtures are the best on paper. I just think the order of operations is not ideal because, they'll play that second leg in Spain in the Champions League. Again, they're up 3-0, so I'm expecting that they're going to win. I don't want to tempt the sporting gods there on behalf of Real Madrid. They've won enough, so they can go get bent. But
get bent. Sit on a cactus, Real Madrid. I'm sick of these.
If it was reversed,
frauds.
I wish that Ipswich match was midweek, because then for sure I'd feel more confident in, investing all in like a player like Saka and maybe even Marino, because I think they get 2 starts. But with this setup, I actually think it's more likely that most of those FPL worthy players are only seeing maybe 110, 115 minutes. And that kind of starts to scare me off. So when I see that, and I know Man City still have a lot to play for, I think they're going to be the most motivated team across the double. So I think, you probably want to have a Man City triple up, not just for this double game week in 33, but the run-in is really peachy for the citizens. So this is kind of Pep's time of the year. He really starts to turn it on, in the last 10 or so game weeks. And I think at least in their title runs, they would always basically mop up the points. It would be 3 points every single game. So to do that, you need to score goals and concede less. So I think we might be seeing that kind of season come around for your team, Scott, which pains me to no end as a Chelsea fan who's trying to make it to the Champions League. Golly.
Yeah, that was a bad week for Chelsea.
It's been a bad year for Chelsea.
And that week,
2025 has not been kind
to the Champions League hopes, for sure.
So again, we have Arsenal. They're going to play away at Ipswich, then home at Crystal Palace. Then we have Aston Villa. They're playing home to Newcastle, away to Man City. Palace play Bournemouth at home, Arsenal away. And to close it out, Manchester City play Everton away and Villa at home. So again, we're kind of splitting hairs here. Arsenal and Manchester City seem like the more informed teams to target, but there are great single game week fixtures. So I just want to highlight the 2 fixtures that I think look great on paper for teams that only play once. Specifically, we already teased it. Liverpool at Leicester just jumps off the page. I think Salah could be a very viable captaincy option for those looking for certainty of minutes and kind of upside in the single game week floor for Mo. And then Forest at Spurs. Anyone outside of Salah, interest you guys from either of these 2 fixtures?
Yeah, so I actually went with the triple Liverpool, and I've kind of gone a little bit on the boring side, but at least having the 2 center backs from Liverpool alongside Salah, I think will help with my bench boost here. Hoping, Leicester finally stopped that streak of not scoring, but it was a little disappointing to not get the clean sheet points there out of the West Ham game, but I got the Virgil goal at the end.
I was going to say, you got the finally comes good. He's been point dodging.
And I feel like I brought those guys in thinking I could play them for these good fixtures. And then if I don't need to play them in all the tougher fixtures, then that's okay. So, but if you're just looking at now bringing them in, then I feel like guys like Bradley could be really good. I mean, he just got off a 9-pointer too. Got the 3 bonus points there for getting subbed off early, but that seems kind of screwy. But
that was cheap. That was when you want to be able to review the evidence in that black box that is the official FPL Towers bonus point
shouldn't you
system.
Have to play 90 minutes to get bonus points for a clean sheet? I mean, wow. But I mean, I think he's a good pick going forward. And then if you're looking to attack that, and then the Spurs fixture they have in 34, I could even see doubling up on their attack. I think a lot of free hitters are going to have Salah and Diaz double up, along with somebody like Bradley on that free hit in 34.
Yeah, very pragmatic. All right. I think that's kind of what needs to be covered. Are there any players that for sure are like the top of your watch list, maybe for Villa or for Crystal Palace? I guess before I ask that, are you on a triple up on any teams right now in your wildcard draft, Scott?
Yeah, I'm tripled up on Arsenal and Palace and Newcastle. So
as well as the Liverpool guys that you got. So you're on 4 teams.
Yeah. So I've got from Arsenal, I've got Raya, I've got Saka and Marino.
Nice.
And so then from Palace, I've got pretty standard Munoz, Sarr, and Mateta. And from Newcastle, again, pretty standard Livramento, Murphy, and Isak.
You must have had that good team value like my friend Brian over here to get Livramento, you get Luis Diaz. My team would already be begging for peanuts if I had some of those guys in place.
Yeah, well, I felt like this year, I think people are a little bit slow to catch on with now that we have 5 free transfers. I felt like it was not as risky to make early transfers and try and build up your team value. If you have 3 or 4 transfers banked, then, for example, going into game week 29, I think I did Palmer to Bruno on like the Monday night, knowing I had like about 4 free transfers and figuring, okay, Palmer's going down in price and Bruno's going up, and I can afford to go ahead and make that move.
Scott, I do want to just ask you, have you hit 5 free transfers? I know you're someone in our FPL USA chat that, I tend to give respect. You are someone who plans out and you're very intentional.
As opposed to giving respect to Paz or one of those fucking hooligans.
Well, listen, we are.
I think I've got
some of us are
times.
more emotional players. I'm labeling myself that. So I never got close to 5 free transfers, but I know other people in the chat have been there multiple times. So I want to ask where you stand.
Yeah, I got to 4 on a couple of different occasions, and I knew I wanted to, going into 29, which was going to be a challenge to navigate without a free hit. And it really paid off because it meant I could take out Palmer, even though he had a fixture.
Sure.
But I didn't want to carry him. He had the Arsenal fixture. And so I was able to move him to Bruno. And then I got Holland in, of course.
Me. He blanked in that one.
Then he got injured, so that was kind of unlucky.
Like everyone
but
lately.
Watch yourself, Brian. Just because we're coasts apart doesn't mean I can't, punch you through the screen.
Get out of your PJ and come see me, Bucks. I'd love that.
Yeah, I will. All right. With that, I think that has been some great breakdown of where we're at to this point, and also some different perspectives on how best to attack double game week 33. So I think at this point, let's take a quick exhale. Let's take our final break. When we come back, we'll dive into some of your listener questions in the form of our mailbag.
It's time for the mailbag. Strap it on, strap it in. We got to take some envelopes. We got to cut them open and see what's in the mailbag, Bucks. What do we got first from our lovely constituents of the Press Play podcast who engage with us on social? We heart all of you, and let's get into it.
Sure. So I'm going to bring in Black Wolf. He's been on the sideline for a couple weeks now. We miss you. We love you. And just mentioned Wolves Corner 4 straight in the Premier League. Woo! First time since before I was born. So I know Black Wolf is taking a naked victory lap around Danville, California, where he lives. The Dano is running around with little Dan out in Danville right now to celebrate Wolves. He wants to know, better to triple captain, bench boost, or ass man if you have the full suite of chips remaining? Any perspective here, Scott?
It depends on what your team looks like at this point. But I mean, without knowing what your team looks like, I mean, bench boost seems like something that's ideally suited to a game week like this, where most people are probably going to be pretty well set up for it, especially with probably wanting to play all 8 of their attackers. So, I mean, even if you've got somebody like Isak, he doesn't double, but you probably still want to start him. You don't want to leave him on your bench. And this will probably also be about the last good opportunity for a bench boost, unless you still have a wild card or something to set up for a 36 bench boost. So, again, without knowing what your team looks like, that's probably where I'd go. As far as the ass man, I mean, if you activate it this week, then you kind of got to have it active through 34, which doesn't seem particularly appealing. But I mean, you could put it on Glasner this week and then move it to someone in 34, someone else. Then I guess you still get 4 fixtures out of it. But I would think if you have Ass Man left, you're probably planning to do like 35 to 37 or 36 to 38.
Yeah, agreed. And that just makes the triple captain where you play that a little complicated because, again, the Ass Man needs to be 3 consecutive weeks. So I think I agree with you. I think probably the move we've all hopefully wild carded or planned for the back-to-back doubles in 32 and 33. So I think kind of bench boost is the way. And then you triple captain, make sure you plan that, and then build the Ass Man into wherever game weeks kind of are left fallow without chips.
Yeah, I think
You
the
agree,
Ass
Brer?
Man is like 90% used in the top 10K. So most engaged managers have used Ass Man. Triple captain, you can just drop in whenever. So I think the planning for the bench boost, especially, like my strategy is nearly always to wild card and then immediately bench boost. And this is a case where I fell into the rage panic trap of wild carding the morning before the game week 30 deadline. And now, of course, I have Foden, X minutes risk. I have Gabrielle, who's hurt. So even 3 game weeks later for a bench boost has been a pain in the ass. It really has. I'm pretty bummed out about it, to be honest. But with that being said, I'm going to have 12 double game week players and probably Murphy, Isak, and Salah as my single game week attackers. So it seems like it should work out all right for bench boost. But triple captain, you can still hold and play it possibly in 36 when you just hope that the FA Cup final has Marmouche and has City in it, so you could
Oh, there are
possibly
lots of
triple
good
captain
options
him.
in 36. I think no matter what happens, I think that was one of the questions we were going to come to. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
let's
if
just
City
jump there.
win, then you've got Marmouche with Southampton and Bournemouth. But then if they don't win, then you've got Wood with Leicester and West Ham, which, I mean, West Ham have fallen all the way down to 17th. That's funny. They don't, Southampton doesn't even have a table bonus opportunity against West Ham this week. That's how much they've fallen down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got 2 teams in the bottom 4 with Chris Wood against them, or you could even go with a differential Forest player like Alanga or somebody like that. If you really want to go super differential, there will be options from Palace and Villa and the teams that they play as well. So you could go really left field if you wanted to.
Love that. And that's a perfect transition. We want to bring in FPL_crisis, aka Ash, saying to basically send the bench boost to the sun. Let's just fire it off into a meteor field or into
That's not
that
what he
flaming
said,
ball of
Bucks.
fire in outer space. Saying that there should be a rule that we have to use this chip before using the second wildcard chip. I actually don't hate that. I think that's a nice little way to really juice the back half of the season.
Yeah, it's been a pain, and I've actually thought maybe next year I'll like play my first wild card, whatever, game week 6 or something, and play the bench boost right after it and be rid of it. I don't know if that's
Well, I'll
smart,
say
but
I did the bench boost game week 1 strategy. Was that last season, Brian, or was that 2 years ago? I think it was last season.
Yeah, it was not this season. So
It was last season. And I think it was really nice and freeing in some ways. But then it kind of just, the next 6 game weeks, I spent it kind of selling off players that I wasn't necessarily ever going to start again. So that made it a little more convoluted. I like the way that you theorize it, theorist. Again, going first wild card and just rip the Band-Aid, use that chip. But what Crisis is asking is, after the rant, when are the best kind of triple captain options that remain? So obviously, we've touched on that we feel like bench boost is better in 33. Then, do we use it in 36? Do we use it in game week 38 and just let the cards fall? I think you teased some options, but you feel like probably Marmouche or a Forest player is the next best option?
yeah, I mean, 36, as far as what I can tell so far, I mean, City are definitely going to have at least that Southampton fixture. Bournemouth may be on the beach by then. They're probably, we don't know. They could still be in the running for Europe as like 8th place could
Could be
even get
top
into
8.
Europe.
Yeah, they won today.
But they
They
might
needed
not.
that.
So the risk there, I guess, is Pep Roulette. Maybe Pep putting out a bunch of surprises against Southampton.
Could
He
Haaland
could
come
put
back?
out something like he put out in the FA Cup against the lower league side and still beat Southampton. So,
Well, they are essentially a lower league side at this point. They're a team. I hope I wish them all the best. They're a long, historic club, but it might be good for them to just hit the washing machine, and do a couple cycles down in the championship before we have to see them again in the Premier League.
Yeah, you know what they say in the USA, NFL terms. Saints, more like the Aints.
Nice one. You're leaning into your dad joke era. Okay, that was a great question. Thank you, Scott. A good perspective for Ash to consider there. Let's jump to a question from Holy Pinto. Wants to know if we feel 3 out of 3 Saka is essential for double game week 33. I'll go first. I do not. I am actually considering maybe skipping him, subject to seeing what the lineup looks like in Madrid. So, what do you guys feel?
Sakalaka. I mean, if you have Palmer, it's going to be hard not to move to Saka, just knowing that his ownership is going to be so high. But we'll see. If he takes a couple knocks in the Real Madrid game, I wouldn't mind swerving him either. I don't think he's pulling up trees. He got one lucky goal in his first sub appearance, and then since then, he hasn't really done too much. So I just don't think without him being 100% fit, like he's not going to be dropping a brace anytime soon is what I'm seeing so far with my eyes and the way that the attack is working. But, if you're in a spot where you just want to have him as a shield and then maybe take a punt on one of the other cheaper mids, I think you should be able to accommodate both. Like a lot of people are going to be using at least 2 free transfers this game week. And I think I would probably want him on my team if I was in the top 50K.
Oh, interesting. All right, and Scott, round us out.
Yeah, I mean, I hate labeling players essential, but I mean, I have to disagree a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes up with a big haul in one of these games.
Okay.
I mean, we saw him come out with that cameo, and he still got a goal in, what was it, game week 31 and then 32. I mean, he could have had a goal or even 2 in that cameo as well. So,
he didn't shoot the bleeping ball after he got that steal from the keeper. I was just like, what are you doing? How many touches are you trying to take?
Even if he doesn't start both games, I don't think that's necessarily. I mean, with the kind of defenses we've got with some of the bottom teams this year, maybe 120 minutes against teams like that can be better than 180 minutes against middle of the table opposition who are maybe have more to play for as well.
All right, so just a quick recap for you. Amen, a.k.a. Holy Pinto. That's Bakayo No from Bucks and Bakayo Go, or Bakai Go from Scott and Brian. All right, let's keep it moving. Roberto Hollis, a.k.a. FPL Yellow Army, is asking about Lucas Dean, legendary FPL troll. I don't know why we're giving this guy airspace, but the community demands it, so we will address this question. So will he play both games for Villa? I think really what you mean, will he start both games for Villa? And if not, is it worth taking a double hit, a -8, a Bucks Wild special, to switch him to another Villa defender or even a City defender, as he'll already be maxed out on Liverpool, Palace, and Arsenal for the double game week 33 fixtures? I saw a lot of head shaking.
I mean,
that almost broke my brain, that question. So let me defer to you guys. What do you think? -8 to move Dean out? You like
I'm
it?
somehow on double Villa defense. I have Konsa and Martinez. These fixtures are fucking awful. We got Newcastle at home, City away. I'm just hoping for save points for my keeper, and maybe I get lucky with a headed goal from Konsa, but I'm not hoping for much. So at the same time, taking a -8 for a defender, no way in hell. We just saw Munoz get 0 points, Gvardiol get 1 point. It's just not worth taking a hit for a keeper or for the defender, especially with these set of fixtures. So unless you need to free up a spot that can enable you to get one or two maybe attackers from Villa, then that's a different story. But if you're already set up and don't really need that extra slot, I would just hold him. It's just the upside is not there. It's different if you have a midfielder like Foden, who's expensive and not going to play most likely, but the midfielders are scoring a ton of points this season, so there's not a lot more upside there. I don't like hits for defenders at all, and Bucks, I've been preaching that all season.
I assume what he really meant is he's already on a -4, and he's saying should he take another -4 is a little bit
exactly
weird wording in the FPL community, but so I mean I could see like if he could get to a City defender, if he has enough money to maybe get to a nailed City defender, although I'm not even absolutely positive.
Yeah, do those
somebody
exist?
like Diaz is absolutely nailed. I assume he has Guardiola, so I probably wouldn't be to go to him. So, I mean,
this is
the
a classic
case for it.
FPL community question, because in a double game week, right? I got to throw it in the spammer. A -4 is really just a -2. Right?
Yeah,
By that logic, the -8 is kind of just a -4.
And depending
not
on
with
what
those
his chip
fixtures,
situation is, I mean, he could be getting somebody that's good for 36. And so if he's got somebody like Dean that's just, I mean, even if Dean gets a double in 36, you can't count on him playing. Then it looks like he's played very few minutes in the last couple. So it might be worth it over the long term. Even if it doesn't pay off immediately.
Consensus. Ideally, the three of us are all bristling at taking a hit for a defender move, especially one that has a double or the potential for a double. But I think kind of if we look a little deeper, maybe we could all be off Team Dean, depending on what the other moves look like. I think, does that sound right to you, Scott?
Yeah.
All right. Again, great questions here. A lot of team-specific stuff, but again, when you're an engaged manager and you're posting actively on socials, those are the kind of managers we want to shout out and reward by giving them some perspective here. So that's what it's all about, giving back to the community. So with that, my Cayman fan, aka Matt, is asking about Manchester City and Arsenal assets for the double. Now, we both kind of heaped flowers and praise on those teams already. How viable are punts? And he listed Grealish and Trossard specifically. You guys brave enough to go with either of those guys?
I mean, I'm not going to switch up personally who I have right now, probably, but Trossard has been playing up front and getting a lot of minutes and looking good, I think. So that could be a punt that would be very differential and could pay off quite a bit, especially if we think that Arteta's going to stick with a pretty similar lineup to what he's been putting out in the league recently. As far as Grealish,
I rate Trossard. I agree with you, Scott. I think
you've owned him.
That could be a spicy one. I went there. It was painful earlier this season.
I think it's going to deliver more pain. What has he done? He hasn't done fuck all in the league in like months. Like he's playing up front, but doing little to nothing. I prefer Marino, depending on the UCL lineup, but like I know you have him theorist. Like Marino would be.
Yeah, I feel a little bit regretful on Marino. I didn't probably realize that they were going to put somebody else up front. Although we can still hope that maybe they sub Trossard off and Marino gets a little bit of time up front, maybe. But I probably wouldn't be bringing him in at this point.
Okay, interesting. And then you like the Grealish shout? I kind of feel like KDB.
No, I was saying I don't think Grealish has shown very much to be a good punt. Actually, if you really want to take a wild punt in City, I actually thought in that last game that, and I looked at the stats too, I couldn't believe how much XGI he piled up, but McAtee, 4.6. If he manages to hold that spot for at least one game, sometimes somebody will get a run in the team after a surprise start. And I mean, maybe we find out that Savinho's injury is more than we think it is. It's been holding him out. It's just maybe on a free hit, maybe you take a crazy punt, and that could be one.
Oh, I love that. I'm someone with a Savio-sized problem in my team right now, unexpectedly, kind of out of nowhere.
Oh,
So
that's a cheap problem to have, though. You know, he's like 6.2. I got Foden at 9 mil.
He
Sinking
is, but he isn't.
faster than
Savio.
Savio.
All these players matter on a potential best bench boost team, and I think that's where we get to our last question. And this one is really geared towards our guest, FPL theorist. FPL Paz wants to know the best Villa triple up. If you could get 3 Villa players in, who would they be, and kind of give us some context on why?
Well, ideally, I would start with the GOAT of Villa assets. And if you were following me last year, you probably know who I think the GOAT of Villa FPL assets is.
Emmy?
No, it's actually, I had this guy, he had a brace, and he was about 1% owned. He was a good pen taker, unlike
Douglas
what they currently
Luiz.
have. Yeah,
Teach me how to
it
Dougie.
is him. So that propelled me
I
up
had that
last
too.
fall.
That was
Yeah.
a victory for many.
Propelled me up to about 20K in November, before my season just went south last season. So, yeah, I wish I could pick him again. So Rodgers probably is at the top of the list. And then I know Brian was sour on the defense, but it might still be. I mean, we did get a clean sheet this last game from a lot of people benched Konsa thinking he wouldn't play. And
Yep.
So you always could get something there. And then
yeah, me too, Bucks.
I was actually impressed watching the highlights. I think if Watkins can get better minutes, I mean, he could have had a goal and assist there. He won that penalty, and then it was missed, and then he scored a goal. So he's very close to, even in a short cameo, having double-digit points. So if you think he can get back to having really good minutes, then especially maybe if you've gone a little bit sour on Mateta, maybe he doesn't. Maybe has another bad game midweek, and you say you want to take him out, or you decide maybe you're willing to move Isak to Watkins, then that could be a differential punt that could really pay off, I think.
And Rashford, Asensio, they making the podium for you, or they're just outside?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have them there, I think they're good. But I'm just, and I mean, Asensio could pay off for, I mean, people who've been patient and through those 2 pens. I mean, he's had a lot of, certainly had a lot of chances.
On a bunch of bench boosts this weekend. Like,
can
you imagine bench boosting with him and he misses 2 pens? It could have been a 15, 16 pointer. Instead, you get 2 points.
Well, it also could have been a minus 2 pointer. Yeah. If he had got that assist for the missed pen that turned into a goal.
Quotations.
Only FPL could count that a goal Rodgers as an assist.
Yeah, it's got to be Rodgers, I think, number one. I do like Emmy, because I think on a bench boost especially, he's going to get save points versus Newcastle and City, and if they don't only concede a couple goals, like he's a player that has also been known to save a pen. So, but I'm going to have probably Isak and Marmoush in my side, so I don't really want him to save pens against those guys, especially if I captain Marmoush. But I mean, Rashford and Watkins are so tantalizing. But then we're reading earlier today that the manager just prefers to play one of them up top rather than having Rashford out on the wing out wide, because that disrupts their pattern of play too much. So it seems like
I saw that too. I just don't know who's going to have the better minutes though, other than Rodgers. I mean, unless you're going for somebody that's just not really getting close to goal at all, that could have better minutes. But I mean, you're not going to go for a Tielemans or something like that.
What happens with Champions League in those lineups? If anybody gets injured, would not mind if one of these guys maybe takes a ankle sprain, and then you're able to catapult one of those players definitely into your starting lineup for the double game week 33. And then, if you're looking ahead, maybe they double again in double game week 36. So, like, for me, I'm hoping that City plays Villa in the final, or maybe City plays Crystal Palace. I guess those are the combinations that I'm hoping for, but time will tell how it all plays out.
Yeah, I think that's a great place for us to conclude, and I'm really glad you shouted out Emery's comments, because he notably said that Asensio is still, if he's on the pitch, he's only behind one guy in the penalty pecking order, which is Rashford. So I think that immediately, again, based on UCL and what that lineup looks like, if he plays 60 minutes of Champions League, I think Rashford will become a very popular option for players looking to capitalize on double game week 33. But I think with that, let's transition to our final segment. This is something we do on every episode. We talk about our transfer plans and captaincy shouts, and we're adding in our chippy chips. Shout out Cole Palmer, the chip man himself, for my Chelsea Blues. So I think let me start, because the listeners don't really care what the mid manager is doing in the FPL community, but I want to make sure we leave the spotlight and the encore for you both to take the red carpet in your plan. So I have 3 free transfers. I have about 1.3 million in the bank, and I have Gabriel. So I'll be moving Gabriel, Jacob Murphy, and either Isak or Palmer. One of those guys is going to be sacrificed. And I'm going to go Morgan Rogers, as we've said. I will be going, I believe Kiwior is the one that's going to come in. And then I think I'm going to go Marino. And I'll be captaining Salah. And I'll be using my bench boost chip. So, again, Leicester, they stink. And as handsome as Ruud van Nistelrooy is, he looks very silly when the other team is just celebrating right in his face. So I think that's going to be a lot of Liverpool celebrations at King Power. And I think the number stretches to be like a 4-0 number. So they just hang a big tally, and it'll be 25 or 26 straight goals at home that the visitors are scoring. And, Leicester have zero reaction. They have zero reason to really kill themselves for this match. So I think Salah feasts. That's my plan. Hopefully no hits. The hits will start in game week 35. Let's go to you, Brian. A lot more stakes at play for your squad, and I know you will also have 3 free transfers. What's the plan? Where are you going?
Yeah, very pivotal game week for me. I'm hoping that a lot of managers will have used their bench boost and or will have used their free hit in the next couple game weeks when I'm playing those chips. So hoping to gain some rank there. I will be most likely moving on from Foden. I don't know if I'm going to go to KDB or just downgrade him to Rodgers. Those are a few of the midfielders on my watch list. KDB is 9.3 million. It's just such an expensive punt. And you know how much I adore KDB. I wore his kit on Saturday after, he had his performance. Just like so many good moments with Kev. And just thinking back to double game weeks of old when he hung 30 points basically in a double. It's like, oh, Kev, I love you. But he's just not. I don't think he's going to play that many minutes. It's hard to justify bringing him in, and then you're going to have to probably hold him if you think they're going to double in 36. And I just don't see him getting a ton of starts. So
if you bring him in, you kind of have to captain him, right? I feel like that's the play.
Nah, I'm all over Marmouche for captaincy. I want the guy who's going to be on pens. That's a non-negotiable for me. I captain pen takers unless I'm going to go crazy and captain a goalkeeper, which I've been known to do in double game weeks of old. But I think I got like a 10 or 12 pointer from Pope and some other goalkeeper back in the day. So, 24 points, not bad in a double. But anyway, so I also have Gabriel. I got to move him to Kiwior or to Saliba. And then, just trying to figure out, between Livramento and Jacob Murphy, who's going to score more points on my bench boost. I would argue that Murphy has a higher upside versus Villa than Livramento does away playing Villa. So maybe I'd be better off, moving Livramento to Liverpool defender like Bradley, or just going hog wild and getting Diaz in and double up on the defense. But then I'm all of a sudden going to have double defense for City and double defense for the villain. So something's got to give. But yeah, I'll be making 3 transfers, and I will take hits galore to navigate 36, 37. Like, that's just one of those things. That's what's going to happen. But I'm hoping to make up a lot of ground in the next 2 weeks with these chips. And who knows, maybe Isak comes good as well, and I could finish in the top 1,000.
All right, and again, you're going to be captaining Marmoush and using your bench boost chip, right?
Yeah, captaining Marmoush. I'm happy to own Saka, but I will definitely not be captaining him. I just don't, especially if they win, there's no reason to flog Saka in the league versus Ipswich or versus anybody. Like, they should be handling him with golden gloves, because they have no chance to win the Prem, but they'll have a chance to win Champions League. So I just see it as he's a fragile player coming back from injury. They can continue to win while still probably, playing him 35 minutes in a match. So I'm put off by it. I like Marmoush, the Egyptian prince. I've captained him before over Salah. I'll do it again.
Nice. All right, Scott, close us out. What's the plan for your double game week 33 squad?
Okay, so I'll be bench boosting. Currently, my bench is Sells, Livramento, Konate, and Cunha. I have 2 free transfers, but it's very possible that I don't do anything because I don't want to mess up my team for 34 by having too many blankers. And I hadn't really thought very much about taking many hits because I just feel like that would probably put me further behind people who are playing more chips. If I do something, it may be something like Murphy to Rogers or someone else to Rogers just to get some kind of Villa in there. But it could be a tough game week for me. I'm taking on a lot of players, but then I've also got things like the triple Liverpool, which could come through for me. Cunha's got Man United, who have been pretty bad, and Wolves just scored 4 goals. So they seem to be rounding back into form pretty well. So hoping that could be a good bench boost, and maybe Sells could get a clean sheet after he lost that one in the 94th minute against Everton. That was painful.
Yeah, the cheap one.
I was jinxing him in our Discord chat for sure, because I have not owned a Forest defender all season. So there's plenty of ways to play it and still end up with a good rank. But I
don't know. He was probably on a couple of bonus points too. I didn't even look.
Yeah,
I didn't want to look.
He was on 8 points. He was on 8 points for a while. I was tracking. I was like, damn, Sells is going to crush me again. And then, of course, the Evertonians come through with a big old heap of toffees and candy for me. That was nice.
And who's the captain for your squad going to be in 33?
I've got Saka captain as of right now.
Wow. There's a lot of varying perspectives here. This has been a pretty interesting podcast with you, Scott. I really appreciate you making time. Again, we want to close the episode out by just giving you a little bit of space to plug where our listeners can find you. And I know you mentioned FPL Scout and the work you're doing with them. So again, don't be shy, don't be humble. Tell the FPL USA community and hashtag FPL community at large where to find you and what you're all about.
Yeah, so Twitter, FPL Theorist. I haven't written much for Scout lately, so but you can go and check out my old articles. I think the color wheel was the thing that really made my name there. Different styles of play, blue, red, and yellow. So I can explain that sometime, maybe get a chance sometime to explain that at length, but you can find those articles.
Can you give us the Spark Notes for our listeners that want to, dabble in some of that old content? Can you do let's do
Sure.
Wolves Corner, but for the color wheel theorist. Can we do that? 60 seconds?
Okay, so red is represents upside chasing, and then so you spend most of your transfers moving around premiums, and you take a lot of risks trying to get more captaincy points, especially from shifting around the premiums. Then yellow is what I call traditional FPL, which is based around the template and spending most of your transfers on the cheaper midfielders and forwards while you kind of set and forget the premiums. And then blue is more of a very patient style. Often you spend more money on defenders, and I think a lot of the analytics folks are very much on that side. And then kind of the intermediate colors can also be their own combinations, like orange can be making a lot of transfers, maybe early transfers to try and get up that team value so you can chase more premiums later in the season, like somebody like a Mark Southerns, for instance.
Sure. Amazing. And again, so our guest is at FPL Theorist on social. Scott, you've been an awesome guest. Again, we're trying to highlight and glow up as we grow the hashtag FPLUSA community. And Scott is solidly part of the Carolinas contingent there in the Mid-Atlantic. So we've got a lot of members in the hashtag FPLUSA community in and around North Carolina. So if you ever happen to be in the Asheville area, give Scott and the rest of that crew a shout. With that, I think this has been a great episode. Again, there's so much more to come with the uncertainty of matches to play in the midweek. But we are the official audio home of the hashtag FPLUSA community. I'm Bucks. That's Brian, joined by FPL theorist Scott. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you have a great midweek filled with watching the footy and a green arrow in game week 32 and double game week 33. We can hope
Thank you
for
for
both.
having
Come
me
on.
on. It's been great.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. We appreciate
this has been
it.
a lot of fun.
And,
Thank you.
Bucks, next time I see you, I'm going to be top 1,000, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to be top 700,000. Woo!